love that fat. I don't. That was weird.
Gotta love those bones.
That's what I look for. It's good bones.
Yeah, just good, delicious bones.
That bleach really nice in the sun.
Yeah.
What am I saying? I'm just trying to sound like a serial killer. I think it's funny. It is, I guess.
And we're live on the internet now, so we caught him, everybody. We got him.
There we go.
Congratulations.
90-minute IPA. Mikey's on vacation. Don't judge me.
Right, the live thing. Go live. YouTube changes how its streaming works all the time, and it's so confusing. Let me see.
Did you change everything? Okay, everything's still red.
Oh, fuck. No, I updated this. I just got to get the picture. I did it. No, I did do it. Hang on. Where is it?
Right here.
Oh, God. He's right there. He's so mad. Oh, he's mad at me. All right, hang on. I got it. Oh, no, we're live. I just got to change the thing. GB Decides.
Wow.
Yeah, I got that. I'm all over this. Okay, where's this image at? Let me go to image properties.
Oh, dang, dude. NPDs.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, do that without me. Not that I've been helping too much with that lately.
All right, OneDrive.
It'll be
look.
Look. Oh, how much better does that look?
That's pretty good. I like that a lot.
Screw you, Red.
I just I just basically changed. I just like highlighted it and changed the colors. It was pretty easy.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Remember you asked me the color code. I laughed at you. You couldn't.
I have picked a color code that I am using to make sure it's consistent. But
that's what I do.
But I get it. Yeah. All right.
The
go ahead.
Drop tool. That's all I need.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to necessarily rely on that.
Oh, I do.
Well, you're definitely dehydrated. Okay, someone's saying that's why I'm having a headache. All right, I'm gonna take a big drink of water. Then we're gonna get started.
Oh, you should get yourself a 98-minute IPA like me.
This is vodka.
Dang, dude.
All right.
I'm into now. I'm into tequila finally.
Really?
Oh, I'll tell you what. And you know what it is? It's so fun. It's the Rock started making his tequila. And it's actually really good.
Wait, Dwayne, you're talking about Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson makes Terramana tequila, which means earth energy. Earth energy, and it goes down good.
I bet if you drink that and you specifically that brand, you could probably, as a white person, get away with being drunk enough to do the thing they do, the shout,
I don't know what it's called. Yeah.
I mean, you can't just do that anytime. But if you're drunk,
I bet you'll do it. I don't know if you'll get away.
I mean, they'll be like, he's just drunk. And you'll be like, look what I'm drinking. Like, okay, all right, we get it. Yeah, all right. So if I ever feel like doing that, that's gonna be my excuse. All right, Mike, we can get started. Let me make sure the rundown is here. You know what? Let's just do it. I'm gonna count down and get right into it. All right. Sure. I know. I already hit play. I already hit record. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything about the world of games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. With me is
Mike Minotti.
I think it's going to be a loopy one because I have a headache from talking too much, and Mike's on vacation, so he's day drunk. So
not yet, but I will be as this episode goes forward.
Yeah, he's drinking a real drink. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it.
90-minute IPA, Dogfish Head, very nice. And then I'll wash it down with this tall, cool Budweiser.
so we'll see if we get through this episode. Could be the last one. Could be our mistake, our greatest mistake. But in the meantime, we'll talk about some news. We'll talk about some games. Thank you to everybody for joining us. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, you can email the podcast at gamespluspodcast at venturebeat.com. Thank you to Carlos Ayin, who is Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme song. You can also, if you're listening to this on the web player widget thing or watching on YouTube, you could subscribe to the audio version of the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, and then rate us wherever you listen. That helps people find the show. All right, Mike, let's we should just hop into the news.
Wasn't actually that much news that I accidentally take off during a
I think
week?
I think you might have taken off a good week. I can't think of too much that happened.
The one slow week of
I know
that we've had since all right.
Yeah, there's been these gaps here or there, but we've always been like waiting for stuff to happen. Right now, people are waiting for the Nintendo Direct to happen. People are a lot of people seem to think it's going to happen on July 20th, which is a Monday, which is like the next coming up Monday.
But they would have to announce that today.
I guess they wouldn't have to. Remember the last one they didn't.
Yeah.
It was a mini. This could be a mini as well. I don't know. I'm still not sure about that. But
we are now at the point where there is no major Nintendo Switch games with like a release date, right?
That's right. So
insane.
It's got to be something soon. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they have something on Monday or something next week. I would be surprised.
They gotta announce that Mario stuff eventually, right? That's gotta be happening before the month is over, right?
I mean, it is July, so it's like the summer, and maybe they're thinking like a lot of people are just sort of like not paying attention and taking it easy. But I don't know. They're not going to go too far into August without doing something. That's for sure. But I could see them like still staying quiet for like another week or two. But honestly, at this point, I would be really happy if they just got something out on Monday and really did a full direct. That would be fun. But
it'd be good.
But who knows? I mean, you know what? We're skipping over the big stuff. You've been on vacation. How's it been going? Have you been playing anything? You've been kind of like just sitting back doing something? What?
I mean, I've been playing. I've been just playing Overwatch. Not playing a ton of games. I've been playing Overwatch with my friends and my brothers, and then like a bit of crosscode at night has really been it. But like, nothing super crazy really. It's been a lot of just like sleeping more, seeing a couple people. It was my mom's birthday was actually on the 12th, and then my brother's birthday was yesterday. So doing a couple like very small like family bubble get-togethers for that. So, but yeah, nothing too crazy. Just trying to relax, really.
No, that's good though. I'm looking forward to my staycation coming up at the end of this month. I'm gonna wait for that Xbox thing.
You during yours though.
Yeah. I'll just kind of be like hanging out with the kids all day, and like I think Steph starts to like go. Maybe she's a teacher. We'll see what the hell's gonna happen there.
But what she did do last weekend that was fun. Finally, was to cut you off, but
no, please.
But
it's stressful anyhow, so that's fine with me. Please, let's distract me from that.
I went to my first drive-in. On last?
Oh,
Sunday.
fun! That's good. Yeah. What was that like? Did they have like special rules like around the bathroom stuff or anything like that, or was it just kind of like use common sense and go to the bathroom whenever you need to?
No. I mean, I'm kind of still pretty small. I mean, people were wearing their mask if they were out of their car. That's
okay.
It.
Yeah, that's probably
like
fine.
Social distance markers in the concession line. Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm not going to go to a movie theater, but drive-in, just like I'm in my car. That seems fine.
Yeah,
that was
my kids are too young for that, and it's like summertime. The sun goes down so late, but man, that would be fun.
It's kind of more of an adult thing. But there was it was the Empire Strikes Back, Raiders of the Lost Ark double feature.
Oh, right. They're doing that. Empire Strikes Back was like the #1 movie at the box office or whatever.
I contributed to that.
Yeah, that's fun.
Funny.
That seems like a good way to do things, though. I want movies to come back, but I think that's probably not going to happen until next year.
I was just like, man, I want to do something. This seems like something I can do, I guess. So yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this leads right into our first news topic, so let's just do that. So, people, they want to be doing stuff that is like, entertainment. They want to be spending money on that stuff, but there's just not a lot of options. So, gaming seems to be taking up a lot of that slack. And the NPD report for June came out, and game sales once again are doing really well. They're up strong. I think software sales in particular were up 49% year over year to $570 million. And The Last of Us Part 2 was the #1 top selling game, obviously. Notably, though, for the first time since the pandemic began, hardware sales were down year over year. They were down, I think, 17% to 191 million.
That makes some sense.
Yeah,
I mean,
right?
I like the people who rushed out to get a Switch for Animal Crossing, that's probably slowed down a bit. And again, like, Nintendo has like no games announced right now, so that's a little bit. We know that there are like hardware shortages, and again, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, those are dying systems right now. Like the sales don't really reflect that, but like the necessity of the next generation does.
Yeah, and it's like if you had a family and you were looking for stuff to do early in the pandemic, you probably bought one of these consoles in April or May, and now you're actually buying. I think the evidence of that is in all of the other categories outside of hardware, like software up 49%, accessories, game pads and game cards and stuff up 29% to 417 million, and that's like that's still on like a kind of a record pace of its own, because that stuff was always trending up because of Fortnite, and it started coming back down last year a little bit, but this is like right back up to where it was when people were buying a ton of headsets and gamepads to play Fortnite with their friends. I think that the people that have just gotten into the consoles now, because they are looking for something to do, they're still buying more stuff just to go along with that. They've just already got the hardware now. So Nintendo Switch was the number one selling console in terms of dollars and units. Of course, it's just that's where we are in this generation, and people are looking forward to the PS5 and Xbox Series X. To me, this continues to say though that I think pricing is going to be like something where Microsoft and Sony and third parties really start to fidget with stuff and try to see what they can get away with. Because if they have an entertainment budget and they don't have anything else to spend it on except for games, that means they can get away with selling stuff for a little bit more. So to me, this says, and did we talk about the $70 game price thing last week? I don't remember.
I don't know. We might have.
We might have touched on it, but
it is what it is.
To me, this is like more evidence of them like being like, maybe we can get away with raising game prices, because people that do
are buying so many games.
Yeah, people that do have money that to spend on this stuff, to them spending between that $10 difference is not going to mean much if they have no other place to put it. So I think that's probably coming. And also for like the hardware pricing, I think it'll be on the higher end, because I think they think they're going to be able to get away with it. Not that people aren't losing their jobs. It's just those people aren't who they're selling consoles to at first.
So Last of Us obviously well, but even NPD seemed to be surprised by how well it did.
Yeah,
and I know Matt Pescatello from there had that funny thing. It's like, whenever people say there's gonna be a boycott for a game, just raise your projections by like 25%. And like once again, it's already the number 3 best-selling game in the U.S. for the year.
For the year to date. Yes, that's right, and it's behind Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, and Animal Crossing: New Horizons. And to me, that sounds like, wow, that's impressive for Animal Crossing to still be ahead of this game. But I guess Animal Crossing really is that big of a seller. And again, that's only physical. It doesn't count digital for Animal Crossing. So that thing's on, I think, maybe on a level of its own for this year. But that's maybe not necessarily true, because Last of Us Part 2 did have the best launch month of 2020 so far. So it beat Animal Crossing's March release numbers or whatever that was. And it's the best Sony first party launch month since Spider-Man. And I think that's another good sign. I think Spider-Man had a few more days in the month than this game had, so that might contribute to that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely a blockbuster, a huge success. Another like sort of a win for Sony, but like another win for like what it's trying to do with its first party games. So yeah.
The other really interesting things there. Ring Fit Adventure at number 7, just because stock went up. I mean, that game didn't chart when it came out, right? Like, I feel like everybody was like, oh, no one really cared. And then like once the pandemic hit, everybody really wanted Ring Fit Adventure all of a sudden.
Did you see like what the comparison to like where it was on the chart last month to where it was this month?
Yeah, it's like what, 200 something?
No, it was like 800 something. It was like 864 or something. Like, so last month, the 864th best selling game, got up into the top 10, and it's just it was
the highest jump ever.
You know what? That we should ask Matt that, but I bet it's close. But obviously that just comes down to availability. That thing has strong word of mouth the entire pandemic, and no one could find it, and then finally they caught up with demand, and it paid off. So
that's insane.
I felt lucky to have that thing. Stephanie started using it, and she's liking it. Although the last time she played, she got really frustrated with some video game aspect of it, like she just couldn't beat the boss or something, and it was like she was about to destroy the thing. So maybe I'll have a broken one to sell people soon.
The other funny comeback here was kind of Persona 4 Golden, just from being on Steam, was that 18 from like, again, that was like at 200 or something, like, or probably worse than that, because I mean that was a Vita game. So
yeah, it's always nice when we can actually get those digital numbers from Steam and see like the difference that can make. But yeah, that game is just more proof that people should be putting those games elsewhere, and specifically Persona, but any kind of game that could be on Steam that it isn't, you should be putting it there.
I know. I mean, again, like, why would Atlas just not get as many of the Shin Megami Tensei games on Steam
Yeah.
as it can? And I mean, I know I who knows why they don't for Switch? Obviously they should, but for Steam now, like obviously they have some go ahead there. Just like get Persona 3 on there.
Yeah.
Get them all.
Yep. So yeah, but that pretty much wraps up the NPD. Not much else to say. Anything else stick out to you?
Just that once again, like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's just 2 spots behind Grand Theft Auto 5 now. So I think some people were skeptical if it would have that Grand Theft Auto staying power, and it seems to actually be getting there.
Yep, it definitely does, and I think the next test is once the new consoles come out and Rockstar figures out however they're going to like update it for that, and then like start selling it for the new systems as well, whether that's a full upgrade or just a new box and saying like, oh, it takes advantage of the power or whatever. If it could continue to sell on those systems, I think that'll be the sign that it is fully doing a Grand Theft Auto 5. It'll be interesting to see that.
And besides that, I mean, Need for Speed Heat somehow still is charting at 17, and once again, Doom Eternal is just that is gone.
Yeah, again, I think that comes down to them not sharing digital in that game, doing very well digitally, I'm sure. But yeah, I think a lot of these games on this list that they're familiar. I think like Minecraft, getting the different editions up there, the PlayStation 4 edition and the Xbox One edition or whatever. People who are like coming in right now into the generation because of the pandemic are just looking for familiar stuff that they know and has brand name recognition. Oh my God, my brain broke there. And so yeah, like things like Need for Speed Heat is they're going to do well because that's the kind of game where like, I played that for forever.
Jedi Fallen Order, Breath of the Wild, Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, NBA. Yeah, it's Mortal Kombat is like I can't believe that's still a top 5 game, right? Like we know
better than ever.
Successful. But like you kind of forget, like, oh, Mortal Kombat's like as real. Like to me, it's like Mortal Kombat's not as big as it was in the 90s,
and it's bigger than ever.
News headlines,
yeah.
Like forget the news headlines. Now it makes money.
So, yeah, I think that's exactly right. It's more money than it's ever made. It's by far at the best point in its life right now in 2020. It's like it's on that tier with like only a couple other games like NBA 2K and a few others where it's just like, oh, this sells to everybody. Everybody knows these games, loves these games, buys them every time and buys them consistently. And it's like, that's, you don't get that from a lot of franchises or releases.
Isn't it going to be time where you think they're doing like another Injustice again? Because they've been flipping between Injustice and Mortal Kombat for a while.
I think that's probably right. Yeah.
So we'll be hearing about that at some point here soon.
I think so. Yeah.
Suicide Squad this time.
Yeah, I think Jeff Gerstmann follows NetherRealm really closely on the Giant Bombcast. He always says like, oh, it's about time for them to sort of reset things. They've done like 3 Mortal Kombats in the style, and the last time they did that, they sort of stepped back and rethought the whole thing.
Because the last ones were like the kind of weapon stance trilogy,
right,
with Deadly Alliance,
and then there was that transition game where it was like Mortal Kombat 9, but it was like just sort of called Mortal Kombat, and they were figuring things out, and then that was the new framework that they used going forward.
Framework, right? But I guess like 9, 10, and 11 have been more successful than like Deadly Alliance and Arm. So I feel like they might stretch it out a little bit. We'll have like the Mortal Kombat 4 of these, right? The one that's like kind of different, but not really, and maybe went a little too long. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's right. All right, let's let's talk about the DualSense. Jeff Keighley did like a QVC thing where he stroked it on camera for everybody and said like, hey, nice. Look at this. Yeah. Look at this new thing. Look at all its features. I talked to Sony about some stuff. Did you watch this at all?
No.
Okay. It didn't really give us much new that we didn't know before, but
it's a controller.
Yeah, I know. I agree, but that's not, that's not where we're at in the hype cycle. We're in the part where you have to talk about all the weird features like sweat detection, like, oh, it knows if you're sweaty on your left hand, and the game's going to respond to whether or not you're nervous or something like that. It has biochemistry feedback.
And my right hand.
I know. Yeah, I sweat on both all the time. Come on, game. I'm not nervous. I'm just Jeff. But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that's going to get hyped up. I think you've already answered this question, but do you think like any of this stuff really is going to make a difference like a year or two from now?
No, I'm not really. I don't know. Everyone has strong opinions about controllers right now because that's all we have. No one would really care.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, I think.
And I love the DualSense. Yeah. I think it looks great, but if that thing just shipped with the DualShock 4, would my opinion of the PlayStation 5 really change very much? Not really.
No. Yeah, and I think it's and I think it's a fun thing to talk about right now, exactly because we just we don't have it yet, and once we have it in our hands, we'll forget. It'll be like a controller. You're not supposed to really think about it, and you're supposed to just focus on the game. I'm sure there will be some stuff that's like going to feel more immersive, and I was saying this on another podcast I was on today, Games and Wario or something like that on YouTube. But like I like the force feedback that Microsoft put into the triggers on Xbox One. That was like it really helped with Forza, but I didn't notice in many other games. And I think it's going to be pretty similar for all of these features, where there will be the occasional franchise, the occasional game that I can see why this stuff matters, and it actually helps me directly understand the game in a more immersive and fundamental way. But it's I think they're going to be few and far between, and overall, most games are going to be exactly the same. They're just gonna forget about the
it's like that touchpad, right? Like at first people were using it a lot, and then it became just a button. And you know what's weird? Like Last of Us Part 2 and Tsushima started using the touchpad again, kind of out of nowhere. Like Last of Us Part 2 in a really cool way. Have you gone to any of the guitar segments in that game?
Oh yeah,
that's really neat.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Basically, Ghost of Tsushima basically just uses it as 4 new buttons because it's like you can like swipe up, swipe left, swipe right, swipe down to like do different things. So
right, I noticed that too. Yeah,
4 new inputs.
Yeah,
which is whatever, but
yeah.
So these things are always funny.
Yep, and yeah, by the time it's out, it'll just be like, is it a good controller or not? Is the only thing anyone's ever going to talk about again? All right then. Ubissoft Forward happened over the weekend, and it wasn't. It was just kind of I don't know. What were your thoughts?
It was obviously hurt because like the only thing they had that was like a really big new announcement, right, was supposed to be Far Cry 6, and then that leaked anyways. Which I mean, I think me and you are both in like we do not care about Far Cry camp anyway. I know some people were like excited about that and thought it looked cool. I was just like, yeah, this sure looks like those games. That's fine. But I mean, aside from that,
I was just gonna say it's one of those things where it's like if I'm in like a mood for it, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll play this for a little bit. But like honestly, if I'm gonna be in a mood for one of those games, I'm gonna play it right now. It's probably gonna be Ghost of Tsushima, even if the Far Cry game is more refined. I'm just like, I just want to see what else someone else's take is on this whole thing. So I would probably just play that instead.
And I guess I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla as part of their kind of like preview thing, and like I played it through a screen sharing service basically called Parsec that just like allowed me to tap into a Ubisoft computer. Right. So like graphically, like fidelity, it wasn't like a great way to do it, but like I was playing that game, and I mean, I think people are gonna like it, but it is definitely just one of those new Assassin's Creed games again with like a bit more of like stuff there for people who preferred the stealthier games, but ultimately with a lot more like Origins and Odyssey, but with Vikings. And like, I think for some people that's going to be enough. But again, like, I'll talk about like, I almost kind of like the way Ghost of Tsushima handled some of that stuff better anyways, because Ghost of Tsushima is a bit more like action, like the combat just feels better in Tsushima anyway. So, and if that's like a lot of what's happening, I guess I'll just prefer that. So I don't know. I wonder how people are going to feel about Valhalla. Because I wonder again about like the Mortal Kombat. Because like we've already been hearing how some people like when Odyssey came out, everyone like was really excited, loved it. It seems like a year or so after that, you started hearing people talk about how like they're like, oh, it's too big, and we like the older Assassin's Creed games. And I feel like that trajectory of maybe not public opinion, but like that kind of silent minority or the loud minority is going to keep growing. Like this game is maybe not going to be as beloved as Odyssey was, but who knows? I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is you should know what you're getting into, and it still has like it's totally not like, oh, this is like the big next generation Assassin's Creed, right? It still basically looks like Odyssey. It still has the kind of janky character models and animations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's I think what's happening with all these games is people do know whether or not they want to play them or not, and so. The people that do are like, they try them and they're more likely to like them because they already like them. And then, the people that like kind of come in later and are sort of like, well, now it's on sale, I'll try it. Like, oh, I used to like these games and now I really don't. Here's all the reasons why. I think that's kind of what that arc is a little bit. But
I mean, it happened. I mean, I loved the original Assassin's Creed games for a while, and then I think it was like, but right before the Paris one came out, I was like, all right, I've done this enough. So. we'll see. Like, maybe it's gonna happen again, maybe not. I'm sure. I think this one will be fine. Like, I don't think it's going to. I'm sure it's going to be a big seller and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what happens with these games. They continue to sell well, so we keep getting them.
Right. But Ubisoft is like, again, and they're in this weird thing where it's like, like Assassin's Creed, the modern Assassin's Creed games, and like Far Cry 6 and Watch Dogs, like those, despite like completely different setting stuff, those games are all kind of similar. They're all map games, right? Like, like I keep saying, they're games where you look at a map, you look at the icons, you set a waypoint to an icon, you go there and you do the thing.
Yep.
Like that's what those games are, and like none of those games are going to be doing very much new, right? Like the most new thing any of them are doing is Watchdog Legion's whole like recruit anybody thing, and like we'll see if that's more cute than it is like interesting,
Yep, I agree.
That also seems to be the most like weird not problematic, I don't know, but that's certainly the worst kind of like of those games. Especially because Ubisoft was we're not political company, and Watchdog Legion just looks like the biggest ripped from today's headlines thing. I know part of that is almost coincidental now because like this game's been in development, but it's like it's just kind of bizarre thing, especially that weird trailer where they're reciting that Holocaust poem. And like,
the whole thing just kind of I'm like. Honestly, people say this like, oh, I'm too tired, but honestly, it just made me feel tired. It really did. I'm like, this stuff is parody is hard. It's really hard in today's world. And it's just honestly just feels like this stuff's going to come out and it's going to be like, isn't this wacky? And, this was the problem I had with like the Outer Worlds, right? Like, it's like, oh, you're trying to lampoon this stuff, but all this stuff still feels like, I mean, this is just our world. Yeah. All this surveillance stuff. And what if there were cameras everywhere? Yeah, there are cameras everywhere. I carry a camera around like that could be hacked into all the time with my phone. Like we just all know this and we're deeply aware and depressed about it already. And you're trying to like be like, well, wouldn't it be a crazy world if that was what was happening? And it's not going to play that way. I don't think it's not how it's going to come across.
Video games in general, and honestly, especially Ubisoft games suffer from this a lot. Specifically, they really have this weird tonal, like coin flip thing to them, where you're just flipping so much between this kind of like everything's a joke and it's funny to like all of a sudden like this is the serious scene and this is sad what's happening or something like that, and it's just bizarre, and like by the end of it I don't feel anything. I'm not amused and I'm not upset. So I mean I guess that's one thing you could say about Last of Us Part 2, right? Like they're not telling a lot of jokes in Last of Us Part 2, and even when they are, they're kind of somber and they're not like supposed to be fun. It's like at least like they're hitting a tone there. I can say the same thing about Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is hitting its tone. There are maybe some characters who are a bit more lighthearted, but there's no like billboards for like slug juice. It's just it's like energy drinks, haha.
It just feels like bad Grand Theft Auto stuff. It's like bad Grand Theft Auto writing, which already wouldn't work today.
Grand Theft Auto's been doing that forever,
right?
I mean that was something when like Grand Theft Auto 5 came out and everyone was talking about how it was a masterpiece. I was like, what is this game? Because that's like again, it's like you ride by a billboard that's like having sex with butts is funny. I'm like, okay, then it's like this guy murders people and this guy's trying to get out of the mob and now you should feel bad for him. But the other scene, he's lighting a hobo on fire and it's and I'm like what is happening? I remember even like Fable. I remember Fable was one of the first times I really felt like this. Fable, like half of this fart jokes and then half of this like you are a serious like adventure. I don't know. Again, video games and tone. That's one of the nice things about I think Nintendo, right? Because they know what their tone is usually.
Yeah. And when they stray from it, it's just like, oh, we're gonna make it a little bit more funny, or maybe we'll do something suggestive, maybe, but it's not going way out of its lane ever. Absolutely, and I think that's going to be Watch just based on what they showed. Watch Dogs' biggest problem is going to be that tone stuff. It's just going to feel so. Right. I'm going to roll my eyes. I think.
Like, it also makes me miss like a Saints Row because like that if you're going to do that then do it right. Like they fully embrace that. So
yes, and that absolutely, and I think that's the stuff like when you go back to those Saints Row games. Some of those jokes, more of the jokes fall flat now than they did then, but overall, it's still like okay, I get what they're going for here. They're just trying to be as extreme as possible in all these directions, and that stuff is at least not like embarrassing or doesn't work at all. Which I think Watch Dogs is going to come out and probably not work at all. But we'll see. We'll give it a shot.
I mean, none of those games. I feel like each time. Sorry, not the.
No. Please go ahead.
But I feel like, I mean, each time Watch Dogs come out, don't they say, "Oh, this didn't meet our sales projections"? So
I don't. Maybe I think so. Yeah, I bet Watch Dogs 2 didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So this might be the last Watch Dogs. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. We'll see. The other thing is they didn't talk about any of the misconduct stuff during the stream. They posted a tweet beforehand that was a screenshot of an explanation that basically said, "Hey, this is all pre-recorded, and we didn't have time to address the issues." I mean, I think most people don't buy that. Most people are like, they probably just debated it and decided not to because they're like, most people watching won't know, and I think it's probably right. But it's like, oh, they're trying to say the right thing, and they're trying to say they're going to do the right thing, and it's like sometimes the actions aren't going to match. It's like, okay, well, this feels like a strike where you can't come out and just say, hey, we are aware of these issues, we're investigating it, we just like right before this we have let go some of the key figures involved, and here's how we're dedicated to ensuring this stuff doesn't happen anymore. If you can't come out and do that, it's like, okay, well, that's a kind of a strike against you in terms of me believing that you're actually going to follow through and be serious about this stuff. It doesn't mean that you're not, for sure, but it's not a good sign. At the same time, like, I mean, I guarantee the conversation was just like 90% of the people watching this are going to have no idea what we're talking about, and we're selling games to them, and that's what matters. So cynical,
yeah,
but
I almost would have rather they just didn't release that little statement and just didn't address it. Like, don't treat me like I'm stupid. I know how easy it is to put an extra statement in the front of your video that you already recorded, right? Like, I know how editing works.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
I think you're right.
I wish they would have said something, but again, like, if you're not going to say something, then don't say something. Don't be like, we couldn't do it.
Right.
It was impossible. Like,
yeah, okay. That's a really bad look. You're right. Okay. Just a few other news stories. Xcloud is getting combined with Game Pass Ultimate at no additional cost in September. This is so. Just to be clear, that's Game Pass Ultimate. That's the $15 per month version that comes with both Game Pass for PC and Xbox Xbox Live Gold. So if you have that version, then you'll just get Game Pass. You'll get Xcloud streaming from the cloud included, which seems like the right thing to do. That seems the right way to do it. Just kind of continue to add it as a value to this thing you're already trying to get people into. It's better than like saying, oh, if you're on Game Pass, here's a way to like stream from the cloud for like an extra fee separate from all this other stuff that we're already charging you as a fee. It just feels like, oh, okay, if I want Game Pass to come to me from the cloud, I'll just get the ultimate version, and that way I have everything, and I don't have to think about it. That seems the right thing to do. But
yeah,
do you care?
What's that?
All right, so do you care about any of this, or
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I'm certainly interested in that. I think this is adding to the value proposition of Game Pass Ultimate, and I think that's gonna be a big deal. Right. I feel like this is going to hurt other streaming services, right? Like Stadia already not doing great. Like, here comes this. Like, I mean, that seems like that's gonna make them shake a little bit. Again, like, my personal interest in streaming and these cloud gaming things is not high, but again, like, if I just get this thing anyways and I just have it, like,
right, okay, you're not gonna say no to the feature, right? Yeah,
right, yeah, sure, yeah, I'll take your thing that's like essentially to me, I perceive it as being free,
right?
Basically, I think a lot of people are going to, and that's what's going to make it attractive.
Yeah, and I think you're right. But like, if you look at Stadia compared to this, it just makes no sense anymore. Like, Stadia, if you get the Stadia Pro subscription for $10 a month, you do get some free games. I think sort of in the same way that like Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Plus works, but it's not at all like a Netflix style service where you get a whole library of stuff, and it just looks silly in comparison to what Microsoft's doing. It's so silly that it's like, how did they not anticipate this issue? If you're at Google, how do you not know that this is exactly how it was going to play out? I just don't know how this product sort of came to be in this form that it's in right now.
Wasn't there a Stadia Direct this week? I mean, I didn't learn.
Oh yeah, that happened too, right?
Did anything happen? Was it like, did that move the needle?
I thought there was some stuff that it was like neat looking, that they're doing that Super Bomberman R online, and they're adding like a battle royale style mode to it, and you can like click a link and like watch someone playing on YouTube and click a link and join their specific game just by clicking that.
Is the YouTube stuff actually happening?
Yeah, and that's neat. But then like you click a button and now you have to go buy the game for $40 or something or whatever it's going to cost. Like that's like right there, it stops working. So yeah, and it's got PUBG. Christian says in the chat. So yeah, like you can click the link to go play PUBG with someone. But again,
PUBG, there's that game you liked 4 years ago.
It's still my favorite battle royale. Yeah.
Apex Legends is still my favorite battle royale, but that's not saying much.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean to try that new Ubisoft one. Actually, I have it down.
Yeah, I want to see it, but I want to give it a shot in action. But I honestly don't have time for those kinds of games right now, just because with the young kid. But yeah, beyond that though, the Stadia Direct was not anything worth much. It was just sort of it was funny to see that Bomberman game announced though. They're like, that popular game series is coming to Stadia, and it was like Bomberman.
I saw your meme of that.
Yeah,
that's like a good screen cap. You can use that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was just like they are out of their depth. They,
do not. I like Bomberman, but to have that be like your big thing,
and that was the level.
I don't know.
Yeah, that was the level of stuff they were bringing to that. It was. I think there was a few other ports announced, but it's just nothing that was really going to make any difference. So, I just don't know how you are putting that product together and not fully anticipating Microsoft doing everything that it's done so far with its streaming stuff. So, I don't know. Good luck to Stadia, but it's going to have to change the way it approaches this going forward if it wants to have any viability.
And these new consoles coming in, man, how does that platform? It's not already in great shape right now, and it's going to be coming up across so much. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yep, we'll see. The last thing is just kind of a small note. Microsoft Flight Simulator got its release date. It's coming August 18th. I guess this is also notable because they're talking about it now, which suggests they're not going to be talking about this during the showcase. And to me, that kind of says like maybe the showcase will be mostly new stuff and things that are like on this level, which are like exciting to a certain audience, isn't going to make the cut. I think that's smart. They also came out and said it was like an hour. Go ahead.
It'll be like what the Sony thing was. Like the Sony thing was basically all new stuff, right? So exactly. That's kind of what they have to do, really. Yeah.
Also, if you want to buy the physical version of Flight Simulator, it comes on 10 DVDs, which I thought was pretty funny. So
my God.
Yeah, it's pretty. I bet there was a version of like early flight simulators that came on like 25 floppy disks. So it's probably.
I remember. Oh, I remember having. Yeah, that's nothing new, but I just haven't even thought about that in years. So to hear that again, it's like, whoa.
That's fun. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the news section. I don't know. Anything else happened that you saw while you were on vacation, or you just zoned out? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I have a terrible memory, and I'm hoping to. Yeah, but you've been on vacation, so you haven't been paying attention, right? This is like catching up.
I've been getting up after noon, so I don't know what's going on.
All right, well that's fine. Then we'll move on from the news to what we've been playing. Then, so you said a little bit you've been kind of playing crosscode at night. I don't know, any updates there?
Yeah, just that like I got to like the first dungeon, and that's where the game is like really shining and kind of like, oh, I see why people really like this now, because it's a bit like a Zelda dungeon in that there's like a kind of like a puzzle focus in. The game almost does that better than it does, say, the combat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what's fun is like going through. And again, it's like Zelda, like you're going room to room, you're figuring out the little puzzle here, and a lot of it is about like your kind of twin stick shooter, like ball, and like making it ricochet off of things, and going through like the fire orb so that it has a fire thing, so it can light this torch to raise this platform and stuff like that. But that has been compelling and fun. So yeah, crosscode is been sinking its teeth into me. I just started the second dungeon last night. I know there are at least 4 of them. Maybe there are more, but yeah, I mean, it certainly seems worth it. If you like those kind of games, like a kind of Zelda-esque game with a slightly different take, it's pretty good value proposition, because I think it's like a $20 indie game or whatever it is, and it's big. Like I know it's at least probably 30 hours, but maybe even more. I heard some people say so. Yeah, that's gonna take up some time. It's good stuff.
I got it on Steam, and I now that I beat Paper Mario, I'm gonna give it a shot. So
right, it's kind of the reason why I'm not gonna get Paper Mario at least right away. So
right.
I'm like, well, I'm playing this already, so
it's good call.
Yeah, I guess you talked about Paper Mario a bit last week, but now like your actual review went up. Good job, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we could talk about that right now. I came out really happy with it. Like when I finished it up, I think that the game has a really strong like final part where like the last like 4 or 5 hours just kind of really chug along, and you're always doing something interesting and fun, and the story is really going fast.
You know how I feel about endings. I feel like when a game nails the ending. I feel
think
like
it really
that. It's like a joke. Like what gives a game a points or something in a 100 scale? Like if you have a good ending, that can get you 5 points.
Yeah, and it's like it really, really kind of pulls that stuff off. And I think that's all right. It's like it goes from like being like an 80 to an 85 because of that on our scale, because it's just you come out feeling really good, and it's such a good pace, and a lot of the standard combat sort of falls by the wayside. It still exists, and there's parts where it's optional, and like I found a point where it's like it actually made me want to do it just because it was so fun, like the idea of like what was happening in the world, and I'm like, oh, I wanted to see how that played out in the battles, and it was interesting. But overall, it's I think it is exactly what most people are going to expect it to be. It is not the RPG you were hoping for. It is still a Paper Mario game, and most of that means it's funny. There's really good writing, but also now the connected world is back, and it's really well done, and it is fun to explore that stuff. And yeah, I was feeling really good about it once I kind of got over the battles like we talked about last week, and you really can avoid them at a certain point. And when you can't, it's like it's pretty infrequent, and you're like, okay, well, there's going to be a couple battles here, and I'll get through them. And it's just not that much. It's not that big of a deal. It's really easy, even once you're in the battles, like to kind of cheese them. The game makes it easy to do that, so it's like, yeah, just skate through them, whatever, get back to the game. And it's just not that much of a hurdle. It doesn't mean that the battles are good. I have a lot of real significant issues with the way that system works, and it would be a better game if the battles were better. But I don't think it's a reason to not get the game. Unless like you really just that the whole reason you play these games was for the turn-based combat, in which case like there's a lot of other alternatives. I guess go play those games instead. So
and that's I was almost getting like, 'cause like I see people kind of bringing that point up, like were you really playing like Paper Mario because of like the turn-based combat, and there's some truth to that, but like I do like the combat and like Thousand Year Door and stuff. And I mean, I feel I get it, because I think some people are just so tired of hearing people like whining and complaining about how Paper Mario games aren't Thousand Year Door. I understand why there's this backlash now of like Thousand Year Door wasn't even that good, but I'm like, no, come on, it was.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's fine to still wish that games were like that. And I see a lot of people now still being like, no, that's what the Mario and Luigi series is for now. And I don't think those people realize that series is probably done and not coming back. So, but
yeah, I think those are all real problems. Those are all real things to consider. And you feel that playing the game. And it's a bummer that it doesn't work that way. It would be better if it did. But just, I don't know. But I'm glad that I didn't let it like ruin the experience for me, because it is a fun game still, and it's the kind of thing where it's like if you are coming off like The Last of Us Part 2 and you need something that is bright and sunny, it really nails that. Again, it doesn't mean that there's not like complaints. Like I think there was an interview recently, I can't remember, I think maybe with US Gamer, where they talked to the team responsible, and they said like flat out, like Nintendo's rules for this franchise now mean that they can't do unique variations of characters anymore. So like you were saying last week, like Thousand Year Door, there was a Goomba or something, a Babam with like there was like a ship captain, or something like that. And was there anything like that? And I'm like, well, maybe, but no. By the end, all of the characters that like were a Goomba or a Koopa or whatever, they just look like one of those. There's treasure toads, like of course there's a treasure toad, but because that's been established elsewhere, they just can't do the sort of Paper Mario like specific variations. And that's another thing you'll miss, but they still do enough. They still do enough characterization in the writing. It's a bad choice. They should not do this.
It's weird and misguided, and like again, like I'm sure like the game's good despite that, but man, the game would certainly be better because of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the story of this game overall. Is they figure out ways to make it still good. They figure out ways to ensure that like it still feels like Paper Mario, and it's still fun and funny, and you're gonna have a lot of great memories coming away for playing it. But like you'll notice the spots where it's like, oh, they're holding back here for some reason. Why is that? And it's stuff like that where it's like, oh man, that's a shame. And if you dwell on it, which I think is really easy to do before the game is out, and you're like, man, it's just not what I was hoping for. Yeah. It's really easy to do that before you're playing it. while you're playing it, you can still occasionally dwell on it. I think most of the time, though, you're just going to be enjoying what the game is. That's not to give them a pass or anything, but it is. They still made a good game. Like if I'm assessing what this game is, they still did a good job at it, and I think most people will be happy when they play it. That doesn't mean they won't complain. Like that's how I finished my review. You'll get it. You'll enjoy it. You'll have stuff to complain about, just like I did. I spent most of the review complaining about the battle system. Come complain about it with me. I think you'll have fun doing that as well. And then, but overall, you're gonna have a pretty good time with this game. So yeah. And then, did we wrap up anything with Tsushima, or did you finish your thoughts on that last week, or have you played it anymore?
We didn't talk about it last week. I wasn't allowed to.
I couldn't remember. I can't remember. I think you're right.
Last week I said I played it, but that was all I was able to say.
That's right.
So now I can actually talk about it. The review went up. It came out today, actually. So now everyone can play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked it. I liked it actually a decent bit. I actually liked it more the further I got into it because a lot of what I did like, and kind of surprising to me because I am somebody who's like becoming one of those video game stories are almost always bad, and I don't care about them kind of people. But actually, I liked the story a bit, not so much because like the substance of the story or any of its like themes or anything. Like it is a lot of like generic like samurai honor stuff and whatnot.
Sure.
But the characters were likable. I thought the voice acting was really good. I thought like the twists were good and interesting without being like stupid, which so often can happen, or kind of feeling forced. So like, I was engaged with it that way. I think the combat is actually very good, and what sets it apart from like things that are very similar to this, like Assassin's Creed or Horizons, because a big part of it is switching between these 4 sword stances. So, and it kind of makes it feel maybe a little bit more like the Arkham games, where like you're kind of like looking at the enemies and figuring out what kind of enemy that is and how you need to deal with that specific enemy. And like the thing here is, it's countering is important, but it's not the whole game here, so it's not entirely like Batman. But like the thing is, like you have one stance that's really good against enemies with swords. You have like the other stance that's good against the really large enemies, the one that's good against spheres. And it's very satisfying the way you just seamlessly switch through these stances during a battle, just so that you can have like an advantage over those different enemies and stuff like that. And the weird thing about the game, like very early on, they teach you all the stealth mechanics, and the stealth mechanics are very basic. It's very like it's exactly how they work in every other game like this. You're crouching, you're in tall grass, you push the one button so you can see the people around you, and like that, that was like when I was being taught this, I was like, this again. But like you don't need to use the stealth very often, which is almost weird, like especially early in the game, because like a big story beat is that, like stabbing people in the back isn't very samurai-like and blah, blah, blah. And at first I was frustrated, like, well, I don't want to do that anyway. So like, why is the game like presenting me as somebody who's doing that? I got over that though. And it is just more fun to like, you can walk up to like an enemy camp, instead of like doing the typical, like, oh, I'm going to like stealth around and that's how I'm going to like take out some people first. You could do like a standoff, which like you push up on the D-pad and you like call them out, and like you have like a one-on-one like duel with like one person, where it's like, if you can like release the triangle button at the right time, you instantly kill them. And you can upgrade that thing, so like eventually you can make it into like a 3 streak, or if you have the right equipment, like a 5 streak, where you can just immediately kill 5 of the people there, which like, well, that feels more satisfying and efficient than doing stealth anyways.
Yeah, I like that. When I just played with that a little bit, I was like, this is cool, and I think it would encourage me not to do stealth. So I'm glad to hear that.
Right, and I mean, there's a few missions that are still going to be like, no, don't raise the enemy alarm, and it's like, okay, fine, sure, I'll do it for this. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about that. But I mean, in a lot of ways, it is so much like those games. Like you have a bow and arrow, of course, and it works like every bow and arrow in any of these games ever. But like, it is like just the idea again, like of why I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla is interesting anyways. Like, oh, that's a cool time period to explore.
Yeah,
and like that's true here. Like it's fun being a samurai and going around this really pretty island, right? I mean, it's really pretty. It's interesting because coming off of Last of Us, like the production values are clearly not there. Like there are awkward transitions between scenes and gameplay and stuff like that.
Yeah, the animation looks stiffer. It does.
Right. It's just, it's a lot of times 2 people talking to each other, doing like their 2 canned animations, like crossing their arms,
right,
and whatnot. It makes you realize like, oh wow, that's why everybody at Naughty Dog like almost lost their minds, because they're doing all this extra work to mocap every single interaction and stuff like that. But I like not to say I didn't notice that stuff wasn't there, but like then it's super detract from that experience for me.
Yeah, it sounds like a good game. It sounds like they have and it doesn't sound like and it sounds exactly what we were talking about earlier, where when I'm in the mood for that, this is kind of going to be the game I'm going to want to go to for that stuff. So they didn't drop the ball. It's not changing anything, but it doesn't sound like it was ever really trying to be like the next industry shaking formulation of how games could work.
It's totally playing it safe, and that's like the big thing you can hold against the game. Like there's some neat stuff like discovering things in the open world. Like it's neat how organic that can sometimes be. Like like a yellow bird will kind of just appear in front of you, and if you follow it, it will take you to some undiscovered thing you haven't found yet.
Sure.
Or if you want to find like a hot spring, sometimes you just look around and look for like the steam rising and stuff like that. So like that makes like the map game aspect of it sometimes a little bit more interesting, but it is still totally a map game. Like that's what you're doing. There's still like the enemy camps to clear out. It's totally that Far Cry formula, right? In a sense. So it's not like especially after we had Breath of the Wild finally be like the open world game that really shook that up. It is kind of weird to still like remember how like you played Breath of the Wild, then like Horizon came out and it was totally like those games again. Well, now like here's a few years later and we still have one of those games, right?
Oh yeah, I was going to ask, like, did you feel any influence from Breath of the Wild on this game? Does it feel like they really thought of? Yeah, okay.
Not really. Okay. I'd be struggling to say that. I don't know. I mean, maybe in like the way some of the open world stuff is, because it's like it's not really an RPG. You're not earning experience points, but you're increasing your max health again by fighting the hot springs, or you're increasing your stamina or whatever it is by like finding these fox dens, and then you follow the fox. So that feels a bit more like getting the Korok seeds than just getting XP and you're like level 15. I like that better too. Like I'm almost not a big fan of like enemy levels in the Assassin's Creed games. Like I don't like that I can come across an enemy and he's just too high of a level for me. And I'm like, oh, I guess I shouldn't be here or something. So, but that's it in terms of like the Breath of Wildness. It's definitely a lot more like the traditional map game.
Yep. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to go back to it, or if I'll have the energy or excitement to do it. I definitely could tell it's a good game, but you play one of those games, you have to like I said, you have to be in the mood for it. So
right. It's not like a giant. Like you could. One nice things is that there's a pretty clear there's the main story missions. Then there's these like important side missions, and they're all kind of based around like some side character. And those are fun to do because it's like basically a self-contained story that's kind of related, and you're spending a lot of time with those characters learning about them. And then all the other side missions, after the game has 3 acts. After Act 3, I was not doing the bottom tier side missions anymore.
Right.
And I was still like fully decked out and like all like the stuff I needed and everything. I was like, okay, if I just do like the middle tier, like these cool side missions with these characters I like, that is more than enough to get me through the game. And I feel like if you really wanted to and didn't want to do those, like the way I did it with doing all of the kind of character side missions, was maybe a 30-hour game. I bet if you didn't do those, it could be like a 15-hour game.
Yeah, that sounds real nice, actually. Yeah, and you know what? I was thinking, like, if I get a PS5 this holiday, and I'll play through Miles Morales or whatever. But then if I'm looking for something else, this would be the kind of game where I'm like, well, it's going to run better, right? It's going to take advantage of this stuff. So let's see. Let's take a look at that, and maybe I'll play through this at that point. So,
although surprisingly, the load times were really good. Just like
right, I remember hearing that. Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, maybe I don't even need that SSD. I don't know. This is running pretty well.
Yeah, I heard they had to like slow them down to make sure that people could read the tooltips even. So
yeah, because you literally couldn't. Like there were tooltips. Like I can't read that. Which I mean, not a bad problem to have at all.
No, not at all. All right, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Mike, why don't we get finished up so you can get back to your vacation and your drinking?
Yes, sir. All right. Do it.
Yeah, tell people where they could find you on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter as Tokoto Tio. Man, this is too bad. I'm just starting to feel this. This could have been so much fun if I was here for 21. At Twitter at Tokoto, TOLKOTO. And check out 90s Disney, my Disney podcast at 90sdisney.com.
It's not my problem that you didn't drink fast enough. You just got to chug that stuff. No taste.
I had to talk too much.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. I'm Jeff Grubb on Twitter. You can get me on youtube.com/Jeffrey Grubb. I put a video review up of Paper Mario there if you want to watch that instead of read the review. And then when I have time, twitch.tv/Jeff Grubb. for live streaming. You can also on GamesBeat, you could look for How Games Make Money, which is my other podcast. I got a bunch of good episodes like in the bank that I'll be putting out soon. I'll be the next episode should be an interview with the guy that's kind of in charge of like designing the business model behind that game company's Sky. And then Stephanie Tinsley, who's like a legendary PR agent, PR person in video games. She's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And then Chris Charla from ID at Xbox. We talk a lot about Xbox and indie games and Game Pass and stuff. And it was a good conversation. And that'll be coming up in like 3 weeks or so. So keep an eye out for that. All right. I think that's going to do it for us, though. Thank you to everybody for listening. Until next week when we come back with a new episode. Have a good one.